Welcome.
Are you ready to thrive?
Of course you are. Life is all about thriving forward and doing things your way. This is the Sussex Way Podcast. Hello and welcome. My name's Veena V. I'm an entrepreneur that loves getting you visible, especially if you've got a small business. That is what I do. I'm a single mum. I love tea. I love cake. And I just love life. This is what life is all about, is being happy and loving every moment. Today, I really hope this episode is just going to help so many people. We have got a fantastic guy on the show. I've known him for a while now. We've done loads of different YouTube collaborations together as well. His name is Sam Day. Woo, woo, woo.
Hey.
Hey, Sam. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. It's a pleasure to be on this podcast. I'm so excited.
Oh, no, seriously. Thank you so much for wanting to come on and share something so personal, because today, is, as with all this podcast, the reason I set it up is to just shine light on taboo subjects. As you know, a lot is going on with Harry and Meghan, and people want to be, giving their commentary on it and doing the more showbiz aspect. But on this podcast, the Sussex Way, I want us to take these topics that are currently happening and actually shine light, talk about them, and hopefully help some people in the process. We're going to be talking about depression today, which both me and Sam have both suffered from in the past. Before we talk about this and the stigma about depression and possibly what Harry and Meghan are going through, Sam, you are I don't know if you like referring to being referred to as a YouTuber. Do you mind that?
I'm honoured to be a YouTuber.
So that's how me and Sam met anyway. We both make YouTube videos, and Sam does a lot of kind of digital marketing advice on his channel as well. And how the reason why you're here today is because, like I said, your channel is predominantly about marketing and the digital aspect of selling and business. But a few years ago, you did release a video called I'm Depressed. Now, just tell me a bit more about your decision to do that.
It was a combination of a lot of things. The first thing was the amount of time I'd been away from YouTube at the time. So I'm someone who uploads quite often. I think at the time, I may have been uploading about 5 to 6 videos a week, which is a lot of content to be putting out, and then all of a sudden to stop and not be on YouTube, and I'm talking for about 5-6 months. I was just away from the platform, struggling and battling with a lot of personal stuff that was going on at the time. I felt like it wasn't right to come back and not at least speak on what I was going through. And also I felt like there might actually be someone out there who might be going through something similar. And I would never want someone to look at me as an individual, as a YouTuber, as an entrepreneur, and feel like, okay, I'm going through this alone. Look at people like Sam, they don't go through stuff like this, and I wanted to kind of like have that personal element to my YouTube channel as well, where people can see that, wow, this guy actually goes through stuff as well. It's not just business, it's not just marketing, but there's life as well, and it happens to everyone.
And do you know what? I think it's so brave of anyone that talks about depression and is openly sharing their story, because, they can be this stigma attached with depression. And we've both talked about this in the past where, you've got your YouTube channel, and we both utilize our YouTube channel for our businesses. So if we are trying to attract new business and new clients and customers, there is that kind of, oh, hold on, should I be talking about this so openly? Did those thoughts ever go through your head? And have you actually received any stigma when you have talked about depression?
Yeah, 100%. The thoughts did cross my mind, because there are brands, particularly brands that I look up to, and brands within like the marketing industry that contact me, want me to either work with them directly, put out certain type of videos. And it did cross my mind, if I put these type of videos on my channel, will it kind of make my channel less attractive? Will it make me as a marketing consultant less attractive to someone who's looking to hire a consultant or to a company looking to work with me? And the answer is it probably does. Like there probably are brands who will see videos like that of mine on my channel and maybe use that as a reason to not work with me. But I've always been someone who doesn't necessarily chase money, but more chases purpose. So I would quite happily take 10 grand less or 5 grand less that year and feel like I'm actually making an impact than make more money and make my channel only about business and kind of take the whole element of who I am as an individual, take that away from the channel kind of thing.
Do you know, I absolutely love what you just said. I love that quote in terms of, you know, you don't need to chase money, chase your purpose, because that's when we find that true happiness. And I know the world, we are all so many of us, aren't we, are so obsessed with money. We are so obsessed with how much money did you make last year? But no one ever asked the question of how happy were you last year? How happy? And I think we should all be changing our metrics of success. And it shouldn't be in terms of how many courses did we sell or, you know, how much money we made, but how many people did we help and actually how happy we are as well. So I'm so glad that I love that quote, what you said. Did you just make that up?
Yeah, I made it up.
That was great. You need to trademark that as as Meghan and Harry have trademarked Sussex Royal. You need to trademark that.
But it's true. I mean, I think as I've gotten older as well, well, when I was younger, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to be self-employed and a business owner. But as I've gotten older, what that means to me has definitely changed because I've seen the quote unquote successful entrepreneurs that I used to look up to.
Yeah. And
what they measure as success and what success used to feel like, you know, when I was younger and I was watching like The Apprentice or Dragon's Den and stuff, and you see people running huge businesses, but when you actually like get to the bottom of it and you really look at the numbers, then they might have like 100 members of staff and big offices and driving a fancy car, but they're only really profiting maybe 25k a year when you really break it down, and they're putting themselves through so much stress to kind of have these high revenues, and they're not actually taking away a lot, and that can actually be more damaging mentally if that's not what you're supposed to be doing. And then I realized, wait, let me change my mindset of what success is to actually like what you was mentioning, like, was I even happy this year?
And do you think that, again, we're not, you know, royal commentators, if that's a word, on this podcast. Like I mentioned before, we are taking the topics that are currently happening and we are hopefully trying to, you know, help you, the audience listening to this. But, you know, when we do apply this to Meghan Markle and Harry, do you think they are just trying to carve their own way and be happy rather than taking on that stress of doing everything the traditional royal way? Do you think they're just like, do you know what? We can't do this anymore. Like, it's just too much stress for us to even, you know, and no one has come out and said Meghan and Harry have mental health issues, but just looking at some of their interviews, the clips that I have seen, I think it is quite evident that their actions are matching, you know, that they do have some kind of mental health problems going on. And I think everyone's forgetting that Meghan just gave birth like last year. You know, Archie's not even a year old yet. So all of those hormones and all the emotions are kind of going all over the place. I don't know if you saw a clip of the interview, Sam, where a news reporter, Tom Brady, I think his name was, you know, was asking Meghan. He just asked a simple question like, how are you? And she responded with like, well, thanks for asking, because no one asked me. You know, again, in terms of when you did go through depression, do you just need someone to literally say to you, are you okay?
Yeah, I 100%. I feel like, especially what they're going through at the moment, with so many eyes on them constantly, and there's this expectation of them to be a certain way. And I know it's kind of not, it's not on the scale by any means, but I kind of remember when I made the decision to stop going to church, and I was going to leave going to church. And for me, it was a huge thing because especially my mum, but a lot of my family are very religious. And when I left, there was this big kind of pressure on the family that my family put on me, to kind of like, why are you doing this? What's going on? But I got to a stage where I wasn't happy anymore. It was a lot kind of politics that when you're in it, it's difficult to even explain it to someone who's not you, because they don't. There's certain things like, yeah. So like, exactly. So even when I used to walk a specific church, there's certain relationships I had with people that were hostile, and even just looking at you a certain way can completely ruin your day, because of the history you have with that person. Whereas someone who might have been walking in with me would have been like, it's fine, he's just looking at you, but they don't necessarily understand the full context of what that look does to you and how that makes you feel and how that impacts your whole entire week. And so I feel like from their perspective, it's even worse. It's magnified. You know, it's not just me going into church, but it's the whole world looking at you and going in to the royal family and all of the stuff that is difficult to even maybe communicate to the outside world, that might be going on there that we kind of have no clue about.
Like you said, it's hard dealing with depression by yourself, but doing it on that scale, when you've got so many people talking about your business, and nobody, I think, will know for a long time the truth in terms of what really goes on in the royal family. And I just think everyone's just making it really difficult. If they want to live a happy life, go and let them do. You know, they took, I think, 6 weeks off. But again, if you're going through mental health problems, there's no set time. Be like, okay, go off for 1 week, go and have some therapy, and you will be fine. And you know what you just said about your story of when you went to the church and everything. It's that look that someone gave you that can actually be so triggering for someone. That, again, what you said, other people, they'll be like, okay, it doesn't matter, but they don't know the whole backstory. They don't know all your emotions. And when you are feeling really low, that, like you said, that can just have such a massive impact, especially if you haven't got people to talk about it to as well.
100%. Yeah. There's sometimes like just small triggers, especially when you're really going through it. There's small triggers that can kind of just kickstart something inside of you, and then you're going through a rush of emotions, and it can become a lot. And like what you're saying, there's no time frame. For me, it took me a good, I would say, maybe year. I took about 6 months off of work, and it took me a good year before I would say, yeah, I'm kind of like, I'm better now. As a result, there's still like lasting effects. There's always going to be things that you no longer do anymore, or a part of you that's just not the same, confidence that's just not there anymore, kind of thing that you're constantly always going to kind of struggle with.
No, definitely. And, you know, in terms, I know you said about your, you know, you went against some people in your family, and I know you said it you know, it's not in the same scale, but however, it's very similar in terms of, you know, Meghan and Harry, they are going against the normality of what the royal family, and it's not even the royal family, it's actually their family. I think, again, a lot of people are forgetting they are a family first and foremost, and then they're a royal family after that. So again, kind of how did you get through that time in your life when you are going against what the rest of your family are doing? Because that must be, you must feel isolated. And again, that is a contributing factor to becoming depressed as well, because you just feel so isolated and lonely.
Yeah, I think even from the perspective of Prince Harry, this is all he's known all his life.
Yeah.
So similar to me, church is what I was kind of brought up to do. I was brought up to go to church. I was brought up to live my life a certain way, and all of a sudden, I made a decision that this isn't what I was going to do anymore. But it wasn't an easy decision because of all of the pressure around me, but also because that was all I knew. So not doing that anymore, especially on like important days. So like New Year's used to be a really big thing in my church, because I went to like Pentecostal church. So you'd have like a celebration, New Year's, and I remember my first New Year's doing, and it was just new, so strange. And Sundays, obviously, I'm not at church anymore. I'm doing something else. Yeah. And so it's kind of like trying to figure out who Sam without church, because I'd literally been going to church. My mum used to put in pram to go to church. So I was like figuring out, who am I without this thing anymore? So I think with Harry, definitely he's going to be, thinking, who am I now without this thing that I've known all my life? And that is a journey in itself.
Goodness. Do you know what? I didn't even think about that whole, all of us, we are so attached to our identity, because that's us at the end of the day. So as soon as you're taking away one aspect of ourselves, you're gonna, like, he must feel lost if he's now thinking, actually, I never even, sometimes I think, look, I don't know what you think about this, Sam, but I always kind of sit down with myself sometimes and I'm like, am I doing something because I want to do it? Or am I doing it because society has taught me to do it? So I'm in this stage of my life now where I'm thinking, do I actually have to ever get married? Do I have to have any more children? Am I, should I homeschool my child instead of sending him every day? I'm kind of going through this at the moment, but I think everyone should be asking themselves, are they, and I don't know about you, if you think this, or if you thought this as well, that, who are you actually doing stuff for? Is it you or is it somebody else?
Yeah, 100%. And that was one thing. The beautiful thing about depression is, for me anyway, personally, is it taught me so much about myself. Yeah. And it made me realize that there's certain aspects of my life where I have to be very selfish. Mm-hmm. And because I can kind of, like, first and foremost, like 3 years ago, it was a depression that I've never experienced before. Like, there's been times where I've been down, I've been upset, I've been emotional, but I'd never kind of had so much tragedy hit my life in one kind of concentrated period, to the point where I was that depressed. So it gave, when I kind of got out of that, it gave me a perspective and made me realize some of the triggers, some of the things that might potentially lead me down that road again. So it made me a lot more aware of myself, what I need to ensure that I'm actually strong enough to deal with life if tragedy happens again. And so I feel like, it's important to just be aware and to really take time to figure yourself out, what you actually want, what makes you happy, what makes you sad even. And I'm a huge advocate of meditation. And I do it often. I do it every day now. I meditate, and I just look within myself and evaluate my day, evaluate my week, my goals, my dreams. Like, do they align with my happiness, or am I just trying to become successful so that other people can say, oh, he's successful, oh, look at him, he's really great? Or can I actually, look at myself in the mirror and be like, yes, you done great today.
You're a boss. You're a boss,
exactly,
Sam.
Exactly.
And Sam is. He is amazing. And I'm so, everything you just said is just, I just really hope this is helping someone, especially if someone is listening and they are feeling really low. I love the point that you said about, know what your triggers are. And again, if you don't sit down with yourself, you're not going to know what your triggers are. And, I've done this recently because I think that sometimes with me, I don't want to say I'm prone to depression, but I think if I don't recognize my own triggers, and if I just keep going, before I know it, I'm feeling really low. And I'm like, hold on, how did I get to this point without me even realizing? So now, like you, I'm very much, okay, like, what is going to trigger me? And even for me, it's when I'm just taking so much on and not scheduling time in, just sometimes I just need a day. I just need a day where I haven't got anything scheduled in. And I think if I don't schedule that day in, that can be a trigger for me, because I'm just piling on so much stuff that I'm just like, oh, hold on for a second. What am I even doing? And then there's so many deadlines, there's this, there's that to do. It can be really lead to a lot of overwhelm.
Yeah.
Can't it?
100%. I think, yeah, you really need to know yourself, and kind of evaluate as well. So what I did, kind of like even during my depression, but more so after it, when I had a clearer mind, was what got me there, so I could avoid that next time. And for me, it was realizing that I was way too dependent on certain relationships that I had at the time. So when they had ended, when they had finished, I had nothing to cling on to. And when you put too much worth into a thing or into someone, even if it's a loved one, so even if it's your parents or your children or your cousins or whatnot, you have to love them from a perspective that if they leave, I can deal with it. And a couple of the things that really kind of stayed with me were that you have to kind of realize that relationships are not built to last forever. And that's one thing that I never knew, that I had to kind of that I realized afterwards. And it's not necessarily just romantic ones, but just every kind of relationship, it's going to have an end date, whether that be someone decides to leave, or someone passes away, or you even pass away and you leave that person. Like, nothing is designed to last forever. And when I realized that, that became a new truth to me. And I realized that the only thing I can cling on to, really, for me personally, was myself, if that makes sense.
God, no,
I can't rely too much on anything else.
I've got chills hearing you talk about that, because that is so powerful, especially the way you put that. Because if you're putting all your time, attention, energy into that other person, what have you got left for yourself? You've got to be always working on yourself, because like Sam just said, that person could leave, something tragic could happen, and then what? So you have to really be okay with loving yourself, excuse me, and being with yourself. And, after you listen to this episode, I urge you to go back and listen to episode 3. That was with Ivona, where we talked about, I think the title is Dating After Divorce. And Ivona talks a lot in that. Again, it all comes down to this self-love, and you have to be really comfortable with yourself. You should never be depending on somebody else. So I'm so thankful that you brought that point up, Sam. In terms of kind of more advice that you can give to people that are dealing with depression, I think we briefly talked about this maybe just before we started recording this, but in terms of the news, now I only realized this that I used to watch so much news on a daily basis, and about 2 months ago I was like, hold on, what am I doing? This is playing a part in, sometimes I get really bad nightmares, and sometimes I just feel this anxiety, and some of it actually leads because I was just watching the news so much. And as we know, the news is always negative stories. So again, like, do you think that's like a good way actually to stop feeling low? I mean, it's not the only way, but I think it contributes, doesn't it? And kind of, what are you consuming in your life?
1,000,000%. You have to really, again, it goes back to just being self-aware. Like, if you're seeing something and that triggers a negative emotion in you, then can you limit the amount of times you see that thing? So, for example, there's certain, even Instagram accounts, might even not be someone who's negative. It might just be someone who's doing, maybe they're perceiving to be doing really well in life. And every time you see that person post something, they're in a new country or they're doing something great, it makes you feel, oh man, I'm not doing anything in my life. And then you go into a depression. And it's kind of like, it's good for them, but maybe you just can unfollow them so that you don't have that feeling anymore. And it's not that you don't like them, but just kind of eradicating that from your life so that you don't feel that negative way anymore. So it's about kind of really controlling your environment, controlling what the people you allow around you. So even with me now, there's certain friends that I used to have that I don't have anymore. And it's not necessarily that they're bad people. It's just that the emotions that sometimes when they would say certain things, they don't really think about what they say. And it's like, I don't want to have to spend 2 or 3 days getting over what someone said about me. I'd rather just be around people who encourage me, who push me forward kind of thing, and watch the kind of shows that will encourage me as well, and not feeding myself things that are just going to make me feel down, if that makes sense.
Definitely. And I think that's such a great first step to take as well, is really, like you said, is just evaluate what is going on in your life. What TV programs are you watching? Who are you speaking to? Like, you know, like you said as well, Sam, is like your friends. That I was friends with this person, and this was like maybe a year or so ago, but sometimes that person would make me cry, but I was still being their friend. And then it got to the point I was like, why am I doing this to myself? It's like, why am I still friends with this person when they literally just make me cry? And it all comes down again, and I know we've said it a few times now, of being aware of your surroundings. And even like you said, Sam, it's like, how do you feel when you've been with someone? If you don't feel good, then they shouldn't actually be your friend, should they?
100%. And being the master of your own environment. One of the things that kind of I had to really remind myself during my depression was to forgive myself, because I feel like one of the reasons why I stayed in depression for long was because I was blaming myself for a lot of the things that had happened. And so my motto was, Sam, give yourself permission to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And so I feel like one of the things that can happen kind of post-depression is, especially if it's like, I made a video about this actually not too long ago where I referenced this. I had a failed relationship quite young, but it was quite a long-lasting one. And for a long time, I never really wanted to enter a new one, because I was like, oh, I'm just gonna make the same mistakes. I'm just gonna be the same person. But when you give yourself permission to make mistakes, then you kind of give yourself permission to live again after whatever has happened. You give yourself permission to take a risk again, and maybe get hurt or maybe get upset again, but you're not really living life if you're just living on the outskirts, like, oh, I'm afraid that I'm going to be upset or get depressed again. You kind of have to give yourself permission to be like, yeah, I'm probably not going to be perfect, but I'm going to forgive myself if I'm not, kind of thing.
I love that. Seriously, I think it's sometimes it's funny, isn't it, how us humans, we put so much pressure on ourselves for things to be perfect or to conform to all these things that we should be doing in society, when in reality a lot of those things may make us feel really low and can lead to depression. I think a lot of people are expected to have children, but deep down they may not even want to have a child, but it's this outside pressure on us all the time, isn't it? And again, kind of going back to Meghan and Harry, they must just feel so much pressure, not just necessarily from everyday people like us, like saying what we need to say, or the media, but they just must feel a lot of pressure. And it's going back to your church example again, Sam, of they must just feel that pressure from within the family as well.
Yeah,
because
1,000,000%.
they I don't think anyone would have got to that point. You know, if there was a big kind of open dialogue within the royal family, and again, we're presuming, I don't want anyone to take this for fact, just presuming this, but I'm guessing if there was a really kind of strong communication between the family members, this wouldn't have played out in public. The only reason we're talking about so much is because it's being played out in public. This, you know, everyone could have released a joint statement together about Meghan and Harry stepping back, but maybe they felt this was the only way to create the life that they want, was by making it public. Do you think?
Yeah, and I think also like the media are having a field day as they do.
Yeah.
and consumerism. Obviously, we're kind of consuming what's going on, and we, us as humans, we love um, scandals. We love like hearing what's going on. So I feel like it's a mixture of, there's probably a lot of family politics going on, but also the media will make it 10 times worse.
And
If
I
they can
guess,
even get like an inch of a story, then they will.
and I don't know if you ever think this, but I just think, some of these people that write the headlines, I think, hold on, is your life perfect? Does your family not have any like scandal or drama going on? I think what this has also shown is that it doesn't matter how much money you have, what family you're part of, if you're a celebrity, an influence, whatever. Us as humans, first and foremost, we go through the same emotions and the same challenges. But again, it's, a lot of people just don't want to, I don't know, put the spotlight on them and maybe look internally about what's going on with them. It's always like, okay, that's happening with that family. Let's all talk about that from now on, without realizing probably what's going on within themselves.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge issue as well. It's like I try to kind of, whenever I see something happening big in the world, I always take a standpoint of, okay, cool. In my small, tiny world, how can I, what am I doing? What's going on here, kind of thing. And I remember putting out a video. I can't remember what the topic was, but it was about racism and kind of, sexism and all of the stuff that we're talking about and things that are going on. And it's so easy to become really angry with what's going on a mass scale, and kind of not thinking about, but wait a minute, am I racist or sexist or even homophobic in some areas of my life, kind of thing? Like, what can I do to be less of these things that I'm kind of accusing other people of? And I often try to use it as an excuse to kind of reevaluate myself and be like, yeah, I can kind of say this is an issue about other people, but kind of looking back and reflecting about myself. I can't necessarily change the whole world, but if I can change myself, then that's great.
Do you know what? I feel like I need to come and give you a hug. That's so beautiful what you just said, and it's so true though. And it's like, I always, even with this whole thing that's happened, like I said, I've been weaning myself of watching the news and all these documentaries about people dying, and I just thought, what benefit is that having in my life? We all know there's horrible things that go on in the world, but for us to really help other people and serve them, we've got to heal ourselves first, and we need to help ourselves so we're in the best position to go and help others. And kind of finally, in terms of all this that is currently going on, I thought, okay, rather than me consuming all the stuff, all the latest updates of what is going on with Meghan and Harry, I thought, hold on, why don't I use all of that time and energy and put it into this new podcast and actually get guests on that can talk about these taboo subjects? Because again, I just want the Sussex Way podcast to be the place that people can come and listen to without that fear of being judged. And people can talk like you, Sam, and I'm so thankful to you because you just talked so openly. And I bet it would have just hit so many nerves of people listening thinking, oh my God, like that has happened to me in my life. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. Like, everything you've said has just been so powerful.
It's a pleasure. It was a pleasure.
And where can we find out more about you if we want to come and check you out?
I am Sam Day on YouTube, SAMDEY. That's basically where I am 3 times a week.
Oh, have you increased your upload, or was it always 3 times a week?
It was 3 times a week as of, I think I started it in the summer last year.
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, that's the new. I try to do a little bit more than that if I can, but that's kind of like the basic.
Oh, brilliant. Well, make sure you go and check Sam out. He can definitely help you with his wisdom. And Sam, he's still young, and you have so much wisdom.
Youngish.
Yeah. I see Sam as my little brother sometimes. I'm like, oh, bless him. It's little Sam. He's not actually little. He's taller than me, but you know. But seriously, thank you so much, Sam. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, just come and connect with me and Sam on social media. Send me a DM on Instagram at official Veena V. And I want to put together some kind of guide, like a thrive guide. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, how to thrive in life or something like that. If you want to download that, it may not be up yet, but try and go to the website. Just go to veenav.com/Sussex. So VEENAV.com/Sussex. Thank you again to Sam Day. Make sure you go and check out his YouTube channel out. This was episode 5. Please remember to become a happiness hustler, thrive forward, and do life your way. Okay? This is the Sussex Way Podcast.
Are you ready to thrive? Be sure to join us next time.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes.